Hello, good evening, and welcome to our broadcast. This is Steve Sumner for Brothers United Against Child Abuse, Buaca, and the Stolen Club. Special thanks, as always, to John Anderson, and he's our CEO, and members of the Stolen Club. You can find all of our broadcasts on YouTube or online at stolen.club. I'd also like to give a quick thank you to Becky Campbell and all the members of her group, the Beating the Drums for Children group, which you can find on Facebook. They are amazing, 10,000 strong, and really fine advocates for child abuse. Tonight, I've got two really important guests. Got Mr. Marc Kovacs. He's a PI, retired law enforcement after 26 years in the Sanford, Florida Police Department. You may know this this police department. This is where the infamous Trevon Martin case took place, which has nothing to do with our story, but they're pretty well known for it. And we also have Dana Lloyd. She is the owner and editor of BrevardBestNews.com. That's BrevardBestNews.com. And they've got a very interesting story and a little bit of a warning for people out there. Hi, Marc. Dana, you there?
Yes, sir. Yes, we are.
Yeah, hi there. Hey, thank you for being on the show. Let me see. From what I'm reading here, my researcher here brought up that you had a very strange call at Brevard's Best News. Back in September of 2014, you had an individual by the name of Josh Cumberland call you when he made some kind of purchase or something like that. Can you go ahead and tell our listeners what it is that he was offering?
Yes. He called and we met for dinner. He had a very sad, traumatic story of his battle within the court system. Within 12 hours of meeting him, he offered to buy Brevard's Best News for the price of $100,000.
Wow. Okay.
And then he also he said that he was in the process of putting together like a social media outlet, I guess, for lack of better words, that was going to be huge. He wanted to turn Brevard's Best News into something larger, so he offered me a job. He was also looking to launch Honest Justice, and I introduced him to Marc. And Marc was going to be the host of Honest Justice, and we just immediately, diligently started working to put the plan in action.
Okay, and Honest Justice, now what was that? Is that some kind of media outlet, TV show? What was that about?
Well, in the beginning, it was a TV show that was going to be made into a movie. It was going to be exposure of corruptness within the family court system, not necessarily just here in Florida, but throughout all of the United States. Shortly after meeting, the following week that we met, there was already a video that was put together called Honest Justice, and it interviewed a woman who was in Connecticut who was having a hellacious time through the family court system, and it was her story. We learned in the video that she has stage 4 breast cancer, and what was the word I'm looking for? Basically, her reward for sharing her show with Honest Justice was going to give her an attorney to help her through her case.
So this is something that Cumberland is promising her as part of, I understand he said he was the CEO of Honest Justice, correct?
Yes, that's how he introduced himself. Mm-hmm.
Okay, and so he went to this woman who was suffering from cancer, desperate, and he's offering her, from what I'm hearing, just a bunch of really pie-in-the-sky ideas here, attorneys, things like that.
Yes. In fact, she was told by Mr. Cumberland to go back. I cannot recall if the judges, I don't want to be unfair or use the wrong titles, I'm not sure if judges in Connecticut are referred to as judges or if they're referred to as magistrate.
Right.
So she she went back in front of the magistrate, and she asked for a continuance of her case because Honest Justice was going to be representing her and supplying her with an attorney from the law firm Gray Robertson, which is a very large law firm, not only in Florida but throughout the United States. So that was granted to her, and then an attorney was never given to her.
Huh. Did she sign any contracts?
She showed up at the court being told there was going to be an attorney present.
So she showed up in court and there was no attorney?
Correct.
Wow. How did... go ahead.
It was on numerous times because there was even an attorney's name, which I can't... I think it was Peter, was supposed to be the attorney, and, he has never shown up. So, in sheer frustration, I asked Joshua Cumberland, where's Denise's attorney? And I don't know how wide variety your radio station is. His comment back to me was, I was called some nasty names and I needed to mind my own business. That was not my concern of where her attorney was.
Well, and what was, if you don't mind my asking, Dana, what was your interest in the case?
My interest in the case was just simply the fact that basically the woman's dying of cancer, and all she wants to do is have a relationship with her child. And it showed me that the father of the child has lots of money, lots of power, and everything that I had seen, money was winning.
Back up, Dana, for a second. There was a video already done about her also that was included that Josh pushed forward with the Honest Justice Program. She was they did an expose on her, detailing her story. And she was supposed to be like the initial case for Honest Justice, the initial, waving of the flag for this, getting in there and helping people. And it's a great program, great story, and then she's made all these promises, and here's a woman who's fighting a cancer, and now her kids are ripped from her, and, she's saying she's not getting a fair shake in court. And once you hear her story, I mean, we know there's two sides to every story, but, oh my God, if just 25% of her story is correct, she's not getting a fair fair and honest trial. She's not getting fair justice. So Josh pushed that, and that was what locked Dana into, championing this woman's cause.
Okay, yeah, just the outrage, which our listeners are very familiar. Every story seems to have the same theme, and this sounds like it just goes right there. And it sounds a lot to me like Mr. Cumberland is trying to take advantage of a very desperate person here. I mean, it's ridiculous abuse. What ended up happening with the Honest Justice? I understand, of course, he said he had some kind of where does money come from? If he's offering so much money, hundreds of thousands of dollars, where did he say his money was originating?
Construction.
Well, it was a combination. But I was told he had a very large construction company at one time that was in Ohio, and that his mother was in an airplane crash, and there was a huge settlement that was given to her, and she invested the money in property in Ohio, and then unfortunately she passed away. I was told she passed away from breast cancer. I can't confirm or deny that. Mm-hmm. And that Josh was one of the heirs of her millions of dollars. And then he turned around and he invested those millions of dollars into property also in Ohio, which ultimately turned into casinos. Mm. And so he was able to sell for 150 times more of the value than what he originally paid for.
Okay. So initially, I'm guessing, he put up a good show. He got you interested in the Honest Justice. And I understand there were red flags, though, because no matter how good the story is, when you meet someone, I guess if you go to a high-rise and it's a fancy office, Hey, listen, you got to be impressed, right? But that first meeting, I understand, was a little shady almost.
Yeah. The first, on the telephone, he has a very, what's the word I'm looking for? A very strong voice.
Mm.
When I met him, here I'm envisioning this wounded. I didn't even say that part yet. On top of his tragic story of him not being able to see his children, he was said that he was a wounded war veteran. One of my other strong compassions is anything to do with veterans.
Mm.
And so we decided to meet. He said that he was living in a hotel that he was in the process of buying and needed to be there to watch the construction. And this was going to be turning into something very significant in the town where this hotel is. So we ended up meeting at a Waffle House, which was close to his location. And when you ask about red flags, and I look back, and I have to laugh. So here comes this man. He walks into a Waffle House, and he is just screaming on the phone and cussing somebody. I have no idea what is going on. I stood up to shake his hand. He put the phone down, and then he tells me that he had just gone to the bank to withdraw some money, and the courts had closed access to his accounts down. And so I said, well, okay, can you work on that tomorrow? I'll buy you dinner. It's the Waffle House. Let's just not be screaming on the phone right now. So yeah, there was definitely a little bit of red flags. He wasn't driving a vehicle. He was walking. He said because he was blown up in Afghanistan, he had I don't know if it's his I can't recall, but one of his legs is all titanium, as is his chest. So he said that he absolutely just loved to walk. Well, I know that there are people that that's what they like to do. They love to walk. A couple of weeks after that, I learned that he didn't have a driver's license. Well, actually what I learned was his driver's license allegedly was suspended. So I reached out and I was able to ascertain that he has never had a driver's license in the state of Florida.
Wow.
So by this point now I'm in a deep, continuously as days pass, I'm in deeper and deeper. So for several months I just transported him everywhere he needed to go.
Wow. Okay. So he's really, just really telling you a lot of stories that don't add up. It sounds like.
Again, now getting back on the track of getting myself healthy and totally away from him, I have to laugh at some of the stories that he told me, and as does Mark, as does my husband, because when I say them out loud, I'm like, I cannot even believe myself for that. The best way that I can explain it is that all of his stories that he tells you, you're so drawn in, and they're so believable. But then when you start putting everything together, they're movies, or they're a lot of references he's made is like Law and Order SVU episodes or CSI.
Right.
So now it's kind of, now you have to, or at least I have to try to find the humor now of how, I hate to use the word gullible, but I guess that's probably the best word that's going to fit. One of the stories that I remember specifically is that he told me that he suffers from gigantism disorder, or gigantism disease. And he's very tall. He's almost 7 foot tall.
Wow.
He asked me on the first night that I met him. He said, "How much do you think I weigh?" And I said, "I don't know, 170 pounds." And he said, "No, 340." And I looked at him like, what? And that's when he told me that he had the titanium chest plate and the titanium leg. So who am I to argue? I didn't kick him in the leg. I didn't touch his chest. I didn't do anything like that. So one of the days that I'm driving him around the county, I said, how did you when did you discover that you had gigantism disease? He said that when he was in I think it was either the third or the fourth grade, that he was very, very, very overweight. And they learned that he had it's one of those things that a hernia. He had a hernia. So during the summer, he had an operation. So the operation's completed, and he comes home, a couple days passes, and he goes to bed, and he wakes up, and he has this manly voice. And he said that he had yelled out to his mother, "Where's my green shirt?" And the voice was so deep that the mother said, "Wait a minute, you should have been at work 3 hours ago," because she thought it was her husband. Then when she realized it was him, she's like, "Oh my God, this is what happened to your voice." And I'm listening to this story, I'm like, "Oh my God, that's like the movie Big." What? So, again, finding the humor now as opposed to when it was there, or, when it was said then, you just feel bad because, it was just, his stories are very elaborate,
right.
And a very great sense of detail, if you will.
Yeah, it sounds like a perfect con man here, which they draw you in, you want to hear certain things, and that's just it. They know exactly where your weaknesses are, and that's where they prey on them. Mark, let me ask you, as a private investigator and former police officer, I understand this is a 6-month period that took place with all of this nonsense that he was giving you. What kind of things did you come to find out as time progressed, and what was he promising you?
Dana called me, told me the good news about her company, her online paper being bought. I'm very excited for her. Because she had just been talking about, I just said, I literally just asked her, "Dana, let me write for you." And she said, "I can't pay you." I said, I don't want to pay you, Dana. I enjoy writing articles for you. I enjoy that. I like to write. And I mean, literally 2 weeks later is when, about 2 weeks, right, Dana?
Yes.
When this happened. So, after kind of the fireworks are over, and it's looking, these things started happening. I had met Josh, and I met him at the hotel he was staying at down in Titusville, which is, I wouldn't let my dog stay in the hotel. It's an older hotel. It's nasty. He was living in some back room that was probably a break room or broom closet at one time. I mean, it was nasty. And he's claiming to be a CEO, and he runs through the spiel. And then he started telling me about his exploits in Afghanistan and how he has some super secret military clearance and blah, blah, blah. Well, my Army Reserve side, I am a criminal investigator for CID. I have a top secret clearance. I am exposed to a lot of these programs, and I'm actually assigned to work with some guys from one of these programs. So the flag started going up. And so I did some digging, and I got with Dana probably a couple days later, Dana.
Yes.
And he was talking about he has guns. He likes to. He just shot a wild pig in the back parking lot of the hotel, and he runs drug dealers off and has cameras all over. I mean, just wildly absurd stories. So when I dug it up, I found out that he had 2 restraining orders against him, orders of injunction for domestic violence. So he can't even own a gun. He can't even touch a gun.
Right.
Then I dug up that he has no driver's license, has no vehicle, can find no income, find 2 other companies that not-for-profit that he has started in Melbourne, Florida with 2 other people. So I did some digging on those, and those went defunct. I dug up his construction businesses in Ohio, which the company's a dead company. The company doesn't even exist. It did at one time, but he's always had an associate with him. Nothing's with him.
Right.
And Dana's always bringing him cigarettes and Mountain Dew, and every time he meets, Dana's buying him a lunch. And this guy is never talking about like a CEO would. Hey, let me get that. Let me buy that. Or hey, Dana, give me the receipt, I'll reimburse you. Things like that weren't occurring. And Dana, I mean, the passion of Dana and the passion into honest justice is such a good story. I wanted it to be true.
Sure.
You know, I mean, God, I went through a pretty good court fight, you know, to get shared custody of my daughter. And just all these little things started adding up. And I told Dana, probably how many times, Dana, I'm punching out. I'm out. You should too.
100.
Yeah. And Dana wouldn't leave. And I'm like, God, I can't leave because I'm not. And I told her from minute one, I'm not going to leave you. You know, and this thing just progressed and progressed into absurdity. You know, he would call Dana screaming at her and calling her foul names, you know, just horrible things, threatening her, threatening people, talking about beating up the manager of the hotel, and just violent tendencies. And you can see that this guy has got some serious issues he needs to get some help with. But the whole lie thing, you know, it started unraveling. I did some digging on his military career. The guy got out of he was dishonorably discharged from the Marine Corps as an E3 when he's telling me, oh, yeah, they called me Gunny. A gunnery sergeant, really? After 3-4 years? I find that hard to believe. Turns out he broke his leg screwing around in the barracks at Camp Lejeune. He was listed as field artillery as his job specialty. You know, you start, and in the absurd stories of, General Blackwell, is that what he used?
Blackwell. Yes.
Yeah, oh, this guy runs the VA. He calls me personally. I'm telling Josh, civilians run the VA. The military does not run Veterans Affairs. They are disconnected, which is why the VA has issues with some of the things they got going on. But, you know, and it's just wild. And all those things never occurred. Every time he would go to pay Dana, I'll have your money tomorrow. But what happened? Judge McKibben locked my money up again. I can't get to it. All right, Josh, when are you going to pay? Well, how about next week? Okay. I'll pay you next week. Oh, and then your contracts are ready. Oh, I can't get your contracts because they're on this super secret secure server that, you know, Ken Allen had to fly out to California to get $1 million part to build this server. I'm like, what are you even talking about, Josh? You have a website, you know? You're going to do movies. I've done government, military. I've been in secret military areas doing projects for them where the security is less. So,
wow.
And it just started unraveling for him, probably last month and a half is when he really started falling apart. About December. Dana finally just started challenging him on everything, and that was when he really exploded, and his story fell apart. And I think that's what he does with everybody he gets into, is he gives them this beautiful picture, paints the rainbow, promises them a unicorn to ride on, and then he can't deliver, and people are crushed. You know, I heard he made death threats to Larry Shannon, another guy about a year ago that he had sucked into telling his story, you know. And so it's just constant. There's so much to this guy. I mean, he's sick. He's sick.
I can say that, our investigation definitely shows Larry Shannon's story, confirms. At first, it looks like Mr. Shannon has this blog. He was really for Josh. He's describing him as a veteran, a hero, and someone to be proud of, fighting for justice. Everything like exactly what you're saying, that he's coming across as really a good guy here with all of his story. But it sounds to me, because from what I'm reading, Mr. Shannon also has a petition going, and he's in Canada, so I'm not sure what the legalities are for all of this. But he shows where there were also violent threats against him and his family, I guess. And so there seems to be an undercurrent of violence with this man, no matter what. I understand, too, there was some kind of a hit ring or something like that. He had a hitman. coming after him. So really, it's wow. It really sounds like when you don't buy the story, he turns to violence. Am I correct in that one?
Yes, but it's interesting. First of all, I want to say this. I want to say that I am married to a fantastic guy, and
that's not what you said last time. No.
The first time, on the very first meeting that was between my husband, Marc, Josh, and Marc's wife, and myself, both Chris and Marc both said, Dana, this guy he's lying. And my husband has been in my ear, I mean, since the 35 seconds of meeting him. And then, you know, I'm an Irish girl. So with that being said, it's like I'm bound and determined. At that point, all I ever wanted to do was to show Marc and Chris that they were wrong. Mm-hmm. And I continuously, you know, had I listened, I wouldn't be as far as I was. Because honestly, I'm the type of person. I don't want to think that I'm so naive that I would believe absolutely anybody's story. And I do my research. With that being said, you know, what was in my heart and what was in my head was, there's got to be truth to this, because who in their right mind would even make this shit up? You know, who would do this to somebody?
Well, here's the kicker of it all. It's not the Nigerian scam where he was asking you for money. He never asked you for money. So, I mean, I think that's part of the love of what he said. You know, when somebody hears it and they go, oh my God, this has got to be true. He's not asking me for anything but my time.
Right.
But then when it circles back around, it always focuses, and correct me if I'm wrong, Dan, this is my opinion, everything always comes back to Joshua Cumberland. And Joshua Cumberland telling his story. He's using other people to say what he wants them to say. He doesn't care about anybody else but Joshua Cumberland. And people keep falling into it.
Absolutely. And that's where I think one of the hardest things that I have had to endure is that I was totally taken in. I have cried. I've cried until I don't even know if I have any more tears. Because I took away from my family. I took away from my children. There was a situation that was going on. Okay, we have to back this train back up to about October. So October, we have the date of when we're all going to get paid. Mm-hmm. And in fact, I have a message with the confirmation number of the wire transfers. And I was asked to share the confirmation number with Marc, and there was another person that was involved. Share the confirmation number with them. So we all sat, and we're all waiting. So I'm like, okay, here's the number. The money's going to be hitting any second. Well, the money didn't hit. So I don't even remember what the excuse was that night, but Josh was starving. He had no food. And I'm a diehard Florida Gator fan, and Gators were playing, and he had messaged me, and my levels are going crazy because I haven't eaten in 3 days, and I literally typed back to him like, I have $5.89 to my name. That's all I have. Are you sure we're getting paid tomorrow? Oh, yeah. So I went and bought him food, drove across town to go deliver him food that he had to have, and no, we didn't get paid the next day. During all of this stuff that was going on, while he had said that he had sent Ken Allen out to California, I actually think it was England, Marc, wasn't there something to do with England?
Yes. He was in England.
Okay.
Because that was when he flew into New York. And then he got stranded in New York. And then he had to fly to California. That was all that same time that all that was going on and on and on. And you would ask him about money, so you were screwed because Ken was mad because you asked about the money.
Yeah, every time if you asked about money, that was really bad. But I homeschool my two boys. So now Honest Justice has done so well. The very first release of what we talked about previously with Denise from Connecticut, her story being told, Dr. Phil wants the show.
Oh, yeah.
So
Okay.
we get a phone call, and Ken is in New York, and we're all going to Manhattan for a week.
Was it Dr. Phil first, or what was Nightline, or what was
No, actually, you're right. I think it was 60 Minutes.
60 Minutes, something, one of those shows.
Did you actually speak to Elise or Justin or anyone at Dr. Phil?
No.
Oh.
And this is how it covers it up. He plays on. The guy's good, man. This guy is a professional con artist, and he's like a magician. He knows where to target your sympathy, so to speak, or your weakness, your interest, and just bang on it. And then you're like shaking your head. Yeah, okay, great.
But
Dr. Phil, it's gotta happen. It's gotta happen right now. It's gotta happen right now.
Yeah,
We're gonna go.
I'm seeing that, Mark. There's no question about it. The guy sounds like he's a real pro. But when I don't understand the gaff. I'm not catching the hook. Usually, and I've read on, many, the old scams, the old con artist schemes, up and down Broadway, the Smack, the Wire, the classic cons that you see in the movies, the pitch and drop. But everything with a con artist leads to money. It doesn't sound like he was actually. How was he gonna? What payoff was there for him?
Dana and I have talked about this time and time again. I don't. The only big thing that he's got is Dana's. He was really hammering on Dana to reach out to attorneys, for attorneys to talk to him. He knows he wouldn't talk to me because he knows. I think he knows. Well, before the last conversation we had, he knew before that one, I wouldn't do anything for him, and two, he just strung me along because Dana and I, I'm not leaving Dana, so I don't know his catch, I don't know what his mark is, but I honestly think he wants somebody to push his cause for whatever reason to get back in his kid's life, but the guy doesn't have a dime. He doesn't have a pot to piss in or a window to throw it out of, to use a proverbial phrase. The guy tells us he gets all this money from the VA, and, what do you do with the money? Oh, it all goes to my kids. But he's $90,000 in child support arrears. So how is that even possible, Josh? Things like that. But the only thing he's asked for is Dana's brought him Mountain Dew and cigarettes. But he concocts these stories that are just, and they get more absurd as the time goes on. As he settles in, he starts, next thing you know, he's over there with Bin Laden. He's Brian Williams. They must be tight.
Wow. Yeah, it sounds. I'm trying to get an idea as to what the payoff is, but it really almost sounds like this guy is in it for the kicks. He brings people along just to fool them, and it sounds like it's just a way for someone who's maybe not mentally sound to actually.
He's definitely got some issues.
And that's, as mad as I am, going back a little bit just to rehash on the Dr. Phil thing. So my husband works full time for our sheriff's department, and so his schedule is they're 3 on, 2 off. So again, homeschooling my kids, I've got to find a nanny. I have got to do what I have to do. So there's another $1,000 dropped that I used one time. There was so many technical issues with his cell phone and the server, and we didn't have the $4 million part to get the server up and running. So, I remember one night in September at midnight, I'm running to CVS get him a card, a $50 card, so he can get his phone turned back on. And it was always, as soon as this hits. So, in all fairness, did he ever say, I need X amount of money to be able to do this? No, but paying for his office stuff, sending stuff, his phone stuff, it just totally added up, and I went through the nest egg that we had built up for my family. But it wasn't, when there's a confrontation, actually I think it was like around, I want to say maybe October or November, Chris and, my husband's name is Chris and Mark had spoken, so Chris comes in the house, he said, okay, you need to go pull out your college books. And I just kind of looked at him, and he goes, you took psychology, right? And I said, yeah. So I find the book, and I only took a semester, and so I start reading on sociopath. And I'm like, oh my God, this is him. Well, so one of the things that I immediately refamiliarized myself with was they don't like to be confronted with the truth. So then I just started, he would say something, and I would say, no, Josh, that's not what you said. This is what you said. And that's when he would absolutely lose it. I can't honestly tell you that there was a time when I was afraid in the beginning. It got to the point of harassment and threats where I just became an absolute shell of what I was. That part, I would literally, now I'm so far over my head, I can't even tell my husband what's going on. So the only person I've got in this world is Mark. And Mark can attest to how many times I would call and I would just be hysterical. I couldn't even talk. I was just so beaten down. And it was sick. It was so sick. So I have been, one of the most, so then after we were supposed to buy Brevard's buses and we were supposed to all go work and we were supposed to get Kias and we have this office space down in Melbourne which none of us can see, and Josh is moving into his 50,000 square foot mansion and everybody's just happy. It's just, it's any minute Josh has a new idea. Now we have a new investor, and the new investor is so smitten with what we're doing with Honest Justice that he has agreed to put in $100 million into this cause. And all we have to do is we have to put this event together to be held at a courthouse in Brevard County. And as long as we don't back down from whether it be the judges or whether it be the clerk of courts or anybody, we're all going to get $1 million in a Corvette. He went as far as taking these manila envelopes, and he has an envelope with Mark's name, my name, and two of the other people's names, takes a picture of it, says, look what our new investor just dropped off, won't back down from anything. We have the event. No money, nothing. It was something that I did. I don't even really know what I did, but I can tell you that the day of the event that was held down in Vieira, Mark came down for. When Mark pulled up, all Mark heard was Josh yelling. When Mark walked over to where we were standing, and at that point there was two other people who had come out to meet us and to share their stories about how they needed help. The one woman had a child with her. The child was sitting in my car trembling. He was shaking like a leaf because Josh had just totally screamed at this child like nobody's business.
Wow.
Josh had screamed at me. I walk up to Mark, and I just about collapsed on him. And he looked at me and he said, pull yourself together. Pull yourself together. Let's get this done. And then everything changed. So it was ironic to me how, okay, now Mark's here, and Josh didn't do the stuff that he was doing, talking to me and this other woman who at that point was a victim. He had called us the C word. He was just literally, just up one side and down the other, ripping us apart in this parking lot. Well, I was able to tell Mark how he had spoken to this child, and Mark went and talked to the child and basically said the same thing I had said, just ignore him. I think Mark said, go with Dana, and the child and I went and sat by the waterfall, and Mark kind of, took over and addressed the situation, but it was horrific. It was absolutely horrific. And in fact, the woman who was there, she sent us a letter and said that she can have no part of honest justice because she was fearful that Joshua was going to strike me.
Wow.
And that should have been even a bigger eye-opener for me, but what do? I just keep chugging right along.
Dana, at what time, this is, we're talking about 6 months, during what period of time was this occurring?
That was November the 4th.
Give our listeners a little bit clearer understanding. Would it be 2, 3 months, 4 months down the road after you met him?
It was like 2 months in.
2 months in, okay. So you had already gotten a pretty good idea. I mean, there's still 4 months left, kind of this type of thing. But it sounds like that was a really big red flag right there.
It was, but I kept thinking, right, wrong, or indifferent. I kept thinking, this man is sick. I thought, oh my God, from what he's been through in the military, he suffers from PTSD.
Right.
And he needs help. At that point, I was thinking maybe he suffers from a little bit of bipolar disorder. And it was, I'm the type of person, I want to know what are your triggers. What is setting you off? And so I just continuously watched him more and more because we were together every day.
Wow.
Whether it was, he had us doing the most dumbest things that was sheer and utter time wasteful, putting together budgets based on the $100 million that this company had just put into honest justice. We literally sat down for 4 hours on a Skype meeting to put together a budget. And I asked him later, I'm like, why did we, that was a joke. Why did we do that? Why did I have to miss my children's first wrestling tournament?
Oh.
Because there was never any money.
Wow.
Prior to that, it was True TV. True TV had bought all the episodes that weren't even made yet of Honest Justice.
Wow.
And then, I don't even remember what really happened with that. Something happened. I'm sure it was my fault. That he had to return the money back to True TV. And then that's how we had the new person. That was the new investor.
Wow.
There was a situation that, again, people can laugh about it now, but there was a situation where a veteran had reached out to Josh that he had just gotten home from, I can't remember if it was Afghanistan or Iraq. He had lost a leg, 20-some years old, and was not able to see his children. And the veteran himself was extremely distraught because what his wife was accusing him of, he wasn't even in the country. He was serving our country. And so I said, well, okay, what's his name? Oh, I'll get that to you. Well, the next day, same veteran, he tried to commit suicide, and he had been taken to circles of care.
Wow.
So again, Josh, what's his name? Well, the next day, he had committed suicide. So now Josh is talking to me on messaging, and Josh tells me that him and this guy Jeff, who we don't know who Jeff is, had to pay off our medical examiner in Brevard County to rule this veteran's death an accidental death as opposed to a suicide, because otherwise the military would not pay for his funeral. And I'm like, I said, that is illegal. And he said, so the guy should give up his leg and for our country, and we should give him a funeral. And I'm so flabbergasted, because I'm like, do we have this kind of corruption in my county? Well, it was not true. There was never anything to it. There was never this guy that killed himself. But that's if your listeners are familiar with Dean Tong, but
Yes.
Dean Tong was very interested in the very beginning, and I think that Dean Tong is an asset to anybody's case.
Sure, absolutely.
Joshua has beat up Dean Tong, Mark, like, what, 3 or 4 times?
Yeah, 3 or 4 times we beat him up, and there's this, the damage between Dean Tong and Dana and I is so huge because of this guy Josh that, I just, it's one of those things you just got to cut it because it'll never be repaired because Josh is destroyed. This man thinks that Dana and I are probably the Antichrist. And I've talked to Dean Tong, I think, once, and, Dana and him, you guys used to talk, confer on the talk, but, a couple times, right?
Oh, well, yeah, throughout the years that I've had Brevard's Best News, Dean has been my go-to guy when I work on, articles in reference to the court system or child abuse cases. And it saddens me so much that I had somebody that, could look inside Brevard County from another county and help me and, get a perspective. Or, if I was in receipt of some pictures that I thought needed to be reported, he listened to what I had to say, and we worked on a handful of pieces together. Joshua, because of that, that's totally severed. I would love to reach out to Olive Branch and, see if there's a way we can rebuild up, but that's what the one thing that Josh is so good at is he plays everybody against everybody.
Yeah, and you're talking about Dean Tong now that you'd like to rebuild the friendship there, relationship.
Oh, I would love to. Yeah.
Okay. Hey, now hold on because we are running against the clock here. We do have to do a quick commercial break, so bear with me 1 minute. We'll be back in just a minute. Again, this is Steve Sumner for Brothers United Against Child Abuse and the Stolen Club. This is a fascinating story. Marc Kovacs and Dana Lloyd are exposing an individual named Josh Cumberland who really seems to be quite a con artist. But we have to do a quick pause for the cause. We'll be right back.
Silverman Slims, your #1 review dealer. We offer Google reviews, Yelp reviews, Facebook review, website reviews, and more. And for a price that no one can beat. Want to make your business grow? Want to gain better SEO business profile? This is the right place to go. With top-notch service, they get the job done. Real reviews written by real people. That's Silverman Slim, the best and only place to go for the best price in review sales. Making businesses grow is our business. www.silvermanslim.com.
Hello.
All right, and we're back for the second half of our show. Steve Sumner here for Brothers United Against Child Abuse and Stolen Club. Tonight's guests are Marc Kovacs, who's a retired law enforcement officer. He served 26 years in Sanford, Florida Police Department. He's now a private investigator. Also, the owner and editor of Brevard'sBestNews.com, Dana Lloyd. they are exposing an individual named Joshua Cumberland, someone who seems to be, and guys, I'm going to go off the beaten track here a little tiny bit. We were talking about Dean Tong, but it sounds to me like what I'm hearing here is that this guy's running what, and Mark, you would know better, you're in law enforcement, but he's running a short con, which is not like a big score, but over the period of 6 months, it sounds like you drove him places, gave him food, you bought his cigarettes, all these type of things. So the con that he seems to be doing is just more over time, nothing that's going to get him in trouble, nothing that's going to take him over $5,000 in small claims court, things like that. And it almost seems like that's the type of game that he's playing, and that's where his payoff is right there, right?
Yeah, I'm definitely not a psychology expert, but there's definitely, I think of it maybe like a hoarder or somebody like that just, they can't, whatever the sickness is, he can't break it. He cons people, he gets them to talk about his story, and he believes his own story. I honestly believe that in his head, he believes everything he's saying is the gospel. And when people start calling on him, he gets angered, he gets upset, and then that's when people start falling apart, so he has to move on to another group to, push his story forward. The interesting thing is, 2 years ago, the guy was homeless, and he moves into this hotel alongside I-95 and hasn't paid a dime in rent. He has one of the free government cell phones that he uses. And now the hotel is actually evicting him because he owes them whatever money he owes them for living there. And he's run a con on the owner because he had to, because the owner just keeps letting him stay there, and then he's told Dana last week that I had to beat the owner up and let him know who his boss, words to that effect. So it's just this. When he doesn't get his way, he becomes very, very violent. When it starts falling apart, he moves on to a new group. I think he's run his course with the hotel. The guy's just had enough after 2 years. I think it's just coincidence that it's running into this time. But what is really interesting is he's working on another group right now, and they don't want to hear it. And I get it. You're
Hi, Mark, are you there?
Did I lose you?
Hey, there you are. Just a quick technical difficulty. There you go. No, go ahead and repeat what you said.
Where did you lose me at when I was talking about the hotel? I think
Yeah, he ran his course with the hotel.
And now even with his con for honest justice, it's moved on to another internet radio group. And I'm sure he's offered them $100,000 to purchase that radio station that they'll never see. But, I've heard he's already getting them to sign contracts. How true it is, I don't know. But, non-disclosures, you're going to work for me. You'll only put up what I approve. And they'll never, I don't think, I've seen, the non-disclosure I've seen was horrible that he sent me. This is supposedly written by Gray Robertson Law Firm, and it's nothing. It's an internet non-disclosure where you type in names. Along with contracts. They'll never see a contract and they'll never see a dime. And I think he knows he can't give them a contract because once he does, he's locked in and they're going to own him. That's when the con will start coming out. Oh, well, I bought your radio station. No, you didn't give us your money. Well, I own it now. So he's smart enough to know that stuff. The guy's smart. He's not a dummy. But he's, definitely got some issues with reality. And, this whole thing that's going on inside of his head, he's getting shorter and shorter with what he deals with people because people are seeing through his crap. And that whole network is starting to form about that circle that he's in. As soon as he pops up, somebody's saying, hey, man, watch out for this guy. But it's still hard to compete with, hey, man, I'm going to give you $100,000 for your show and I don't want anything in return. And then you start saying, well, put my story on the air, put this on the air, put that on the air. And when they start saying, well, pay us for our time, or pay us for the station, he flips out. My business partner says, it's not happening, and who's your business partner? He keeps claiming that he's business partners with Ken Allen, out of Melbourne. And I have serious doubts about that, because you can never talk to Ken Allen. And a couple of times Dana's reached out to Ken Allen. Josh is known like instantly, so I'm sure that he has Ken Allen stuff hacked. But and then it gets into his friends that he has. He's told me I have 4 super secret private investigators that are following you around. I just laugh. I know the reality. I've trained in counter surveillance. I mean, stop, Josh. And then the friend's name he uses is Johansson. I have this buddy of mine, Johansson. Well, the other thing he started talking about, talking about this Johansson guy. And I'm like, why do I know that name? So I called Dana one night and said, hey, Dana, watch Heartbreak Ridge. What? Watch Heartbreak Ridge. There's a Johansson guy, and this guy fits the description that Josh throws out there to a T. And it's one of the characters in the movie, and how Josh refers to himself as Gunny, and how he's done all these things. You watch that movie, and this guy, it's like, wow.
Man. If you want to hear something funny, I did speak to other people, but it reminds me of that movie with Kevin Spacey, where he's a mastermind criminal and he just uses everything around him to draw his little stories. Quartet was the name of of a cup or something. But anyway, I heard a story where, I don't know if you're familiar with a movie with Al Pacino. Where they're a salesman. It's got Ed Harris, Jack Lemmon in it, and it's called Glengarry Glen Ross. And in this movie, they're a salesman, and in one part, Jack Lemmon is standing outside in a phone booth in the rain, making believe he's talking to his secretary. So he's off there. He's like, Grace, we're setting up the schedule for the Johnsons tomorrow, right? Yes. Okay. Thank you, Grace. And someone described that scene. That Joshua was actually reliving that scene. So it sounds to me like he's actually doing what you're saying. I've definitely got confirmation that he uses like movie parts or scenes to actually con people, which is really kind of strange. But yeah, I've confirmed that. I think you're completely correct in that. Now let me ask you, when it comes back to honest justice, where do you stand now? I'm wondering. I mean, who owns it? Is this going to happen? What?
This is the entertaining part of all of it.
Oh no.
Out of everything bad, if you focus on the bad comes out. What I love about Dana is Dana has such a good heart, and is such a great person. And I'm not saying that because she's on the radio. I honestly believe that. And we go at it. I give her hell constantly about being too nice. But so Dana got me roped into this, and I told her I wouldn't leave her. She owes me big for this, like she owes her husband. But there is no honest justice business that's filed in any state. There's no incorporation, there's no LLC, there's no not-for-profit. However, as of recently, there is Honest Justice, Inc., which is filed as a not-for-profit organization in the state of Florida. You were talking to the president and vice president of that because Dana and I discussed this, and I love the concept. The concept is great. And there are true people out there that really, really have been screwed over by the system, males and females, men and women. And because these people like to use whatever they can out of anger, they don't give two damns about the children. The children are being ripped apart. It's hard enough for a kid to go back and forth to two loving parents. Then they have to watch these two parents that supposedly loved each other at one time going for each other's throats. And you're just screwing up your own kid.
Absolutely.
Then they start hammering each other for money just as vindictiveness because of personal animosities. Just let it go. Grow up. Put on your big boy, big girl pants and move on. Why are you trying to punish this other person? Get on with your lives and take care of your kids. Be adults. So when we started, and not to mention the child abuse, I've been to a lot of specific training as a child abuse investigator for the Army Reserves as a criminal investigator, which I still do. And, nothing incenses me more than somebody that can harm a child.
Absolutely.
The children have no choice. The children, they're there. And I don't mean to make it sound stupid or anything, but the children are like puppies and dogs. They love you unconditionally.
Absolutely. Yes.
And to do that to a child and walk away, not being prosecuted by the courts and make a mockery of the system, it just drives me nuts. And Dana and I recently have talked to people in that position where the legal system is just totally screwing over the victims, because of one who the suspect may be, or because the victims, live in a lower socioeconomic status, or, just all these things. And law enforcement scoffs at them. They don't throw the resources into it.
Yeah.
They go to court. And court's not about, and Dana's heard me say this, court is not about justice. It's about who puts on the best show.
Absolutely. If you listen to our previous broadcast, absolutely. Man, we've got stories. Hey, I'm at sunbiz.org right now, and I can verify for our listeners that there is indeed a company listing you and Dana and someone else as it's an active corporation, and it's honest justice. This is your company. So it sounds like what you did, really, and I catch the joke now, I think, is that you turned the scam around and are using it for legitimate purposes. Is that correct?
That is absolutely correct. How we want to set this up, excuse me, fighting this cold that's going on. How we want to set this up is I've been working on the website, and we hope to have that published up soon. We're going with what? The Real Honest Justice, Dana?
Yes.
And we're going to get that published up. And it's going to talk about what we're going to do and how we plan on supporting our programs. And our programs, we have no funding right now. So starting out, what we want to do is be able to connect families with the right resources. And by doing that, we're trying to offer a service of, I do background screening now. That's part of my business, along with corporate investigations, private investigations. I do background screenings for employment hires, landlord, tenant, rentals, dating, things like that. So what we came up with and kicked me around was, why don't we screen attorneys? There are good attorneys out there, and there's some, come from Jersey, shysters.
Yes. No, true. Yeah, I've met both, so I can confirm that from the state of Florida. Right. Mark, you still there?
Contacting people they went up against.
Mark, I lost you there for another second. I'm sorry, I don't know what the glitch was. But, like I was saying, to backtrack a little bit, because I did lose you for just a second, you're looking at taking this concept that a con man gave you, honest justice, you've incorporated it into a company, which is an active company. You can see it on sunbiz.org, people. And it's going to actually help the community, which is a fantastic turnaround. I'm wondering, though, and hold that thought what you were saying there, but what has Josh, flipped his lid? I mean, what is he doing?
He doesn't even know that this company exists right now.
Oh, boy.
So, hi. And,
oh, boy.
and he's got a scam going, and he had no business. He had a Facebook page. I get it. But there's no one on his Facebook page, I don't think, that can honestly come around and tell us that he did anything for them with courts, with child custody. I'm telling you, I can pretty much bet that didn't happen.
Well, at this point, At this point, I'd love to ask our listeners who have been so great in previous cases coming forth with evidence on murder cases, if you know of anyone that Joshua John Cumberland has helped through any means, by all means, please give us a call and let us know how Mr. Cumberland has helped, because all of our research does indicate that Larry Shannon and other people have been conned and duped by this guy. So again, please come forth if you're listening to us and you have a good story regarding Josh. By all means, give us a call. And Mark, I'm sorry to interrupt. Please go right back ahead. What you're saying?
No, that's what we want, and even we want to hear from people that have their own stories. Once our site's up and running, we want people to contact us and tell us about what's going on with their personal cases, and how they've been victims of the system. And keep in mind, I might just be able to provide some legal resource to them to understand why what happened to them did. It's not that everyone got hosed or screwed per se. It's just that's the way the system is set up. So our thing is we need to change the system if that's the case.
Absolutely.
And if there's corrupt judges, we need to vote them out. I can tell you that my personal opinion right now, if there's an incumbent sitting judge, I vote him out. I vote for no.
Well, Well, to address that, hang on. There is a problem with that, and we have in one of our previous guests, and I know I've seen this, but really just the worst judges who've run, and there's no opposition, and they get voted in for another 6 years.
Right.
So this gentleman, Dr. Jimenez, Dr. Mario Jimenez, who was a previous guest, a fantastic gentleman, but he is actually proposing a merit retention clause to make sure that there's at least a merit vote on the judges that are sitting, maybe ruining these lives. These kids, like you said, have no say-so in the system, and men are getting just, have to excuse me, Dana, but the whole silver bullet thing is just horrible what we're hearing that's going on right now. But yeah, so we have the merit retention push going to get that into legislation. And so what would honest justice do then? You'd be looking to maybe provide legal help? In what manner?
Well, right now, everything is a phased approach.
Mm-hmm.
We can't rush out and provide funding. I would love to be at the point where I could say, you know what, man, I can give you at least a retainer fee. You can apply for a retainer fee from us, and we'll give you a retainer fee. Things like that. But what we're initially starting at, and correct me again, Dan, if I'm wrong, jump in, is my goal and the phase one is if we can get some attorneys on board, where we advertise them on our site, we advertise them, we connect people with them that they can provide some sort of discounted rate. We're not going to charge a whole lot for advertising. We got to support the site and support the program and build up those revenues where we can help people get professional witnesses and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
But we have to build up that space of respected attorneys. We have to connect people with that where they go, listen, man, my attorney sucks. Who can I talk to? Hey, we've already screened, Bill Smith in your area. Reach out, call him. We check this. Here's what we found about him. We'll give you the report of what we found. So people can start at least have some confidence in their legal firm. Most people, they don't know anything about hiring an attorney. They
Right.
don't, and it's a shame, and the court system's very daunting for somebody. I've been to child abuse cases and seen kids being interviewed by horrible Florida DCF workers that receive minimum training at best. And that's a whole nother topic, child abuse.
Absolutely.
That I can just shred the Florida system on. But there are good attorneys, there are good lawyers, and and good judges, and we want to bring them out. If they're good, we want to push their name to the top so people can turn to them.
Right.
But we don't want them screwing the victims again.
Right. So you're just getting it off the ground, but it sounds like at least the concept is there, something that hopefully will take off, and you're turning a really bad situation here from I don't want to say names, but this con man, and making it into something that hopefully will take off and be very productive as far as what it can do for the community. Are you planning on doing this statewide or just for Brevard?
No, the initial concept is statewide, and I personally, and Dana and I have talked about this again, I would like to be a national outlet, because we already have interest. Honest Justice had interest from across the nation.
Wow.
So why don't we take this concept across the nation and put these people that are having these hard times in touch with each other? Facebook's a social media. We can use it as a support group. I'm a cancer survivor. I am on two separate cancer websites that have been totally amazing for people to find resources on. And I knew nothing about my cancer. I went through my treatments cold. I had nobody to turn to. The doctors weren't really giving me a whole lot, and I had some great doctors. But they're doctors. They deal with the disease, not the person. So everything I found out on my own. But now I turn on Facebook and I see people going, hey, they're on this website. I just was diagnosed with disease. Help me. What do I expect? And people are just giving them information. And what a sobering thought for somebody that's facing a horrific circumstance. Not just cancer, but divorce. Child custody battles in a divorce are just horrible. Dealing with how do you deal with your child that's going through this stuff? What kind of psychological damage? Child sex assault, the child abuse, all those things. And it all deals around the family courts. And we want people to have resources. It sucks to have to. People have to go through what other people have already gone through to find these resources. Well, let's take their bad experiences and help other people. Why can't we do that?
It's a laudable cause. It's something that's exemplary, and almost reminds me a little bit of John Walsh, who took just the worst circumstances imaginable and turned it into America's Most Wanted, where so many people have been brought to justice. He didn't just curl up and say forget about it or go crazy. It sounds like you're taking something that was initially evil, initially bad, and you're turning it into something that hopefully is going to bloom into a fantastic cause.
And it even goes, and I'm trying to kick it down to the simplest form. The biggest thing I witnessed in law enforcement is women, primarily women, going in and filing for domestic violence injunctions, restraining orders against their husbands, claiming that assaults had happened and batteries had occurred. That never did.
Right.
And they're using it as a tool because they're angry and ticked off. And that's a great way to get back at the husband.
Yes.
That's a great way to get that control over him and guarantee he's never going to see he's violent. Or he's never going to. And that was how Josh sucked up then. Oh, I got these. I'm not violent. I've never done. But there are false affidavits and there are false injunctions and restraining orders filed.
Every day. Yes, I agree. And one of my last guests, Michael Vogel, is doing a book right now on someone who actually committed suicide because of it. Chris McNee. There's also Thomas James Ball, who set himself on fire on Father's Day because of this. And you can see that this silver bullet thing is taking off. It's ridiculous. So anything that you can do as far as spreading awareness and helping people is just amazing. I got to say, congratulations on taking a negative and turning it into a positive.
We're trying. Dana and I believed in it from minute one when we saw it. But the bad thing is, at the very least, I contributed to bad management. That's the very easiest way to describe it. That this, run by a con man that has no concept of really what he's doing to people. getting people open and then crushing them like this poor lady in Connecticut is just horrible. He's going to eventually push somebody into killing themselves, and blood is on his hands.
Right.
And that's one of the things that I wanted to. I am a survivor of two things. I'm a survivor of childhood molestation, excuse me, and I'm a survivor of being date raped in high school. And I'm not going to plug the. There was an internet radio station that interviewed Josh, and I was extremely upset and distraught because Josh it was a live show, and he was just able to just put bullshit out there over and over again, and he specifically was attacking me personally. Well, this particular show, I was blocked from the chat room, and then I was able to call in, and when they realized who I was, they dropped my call. One of the questions that the owner of that particular show was also on that night, and I can't say he was yelling at me because he was on the radio, but what I heard was, if Josh truly did all of these things to you, then get a lawyer and sue him. Well, number one, Josh doesn't have anything, so that's not even worth my time.
Right.
And number two, to me, did I fall for the promises of money? Yeah, because it was life-changing for my family. But I was to the point where I was going to take my life. And what stopped me is I have two little boys, and I don't have any life insurance. And I didn't want to. I could not do that to my family, but that is how low I was. I don't care about the $1 million, the Corvette, the big office. I don't care about any of that. What I care about is that I consider myself to be a very strong person. I'm in a weak state right now, and every day is a fight. Every day I get up and I'm able to laugh a little bit more about what transpired. But every night, before I try to go to sleep, I pray. Not only do I pray for Josh, because we're supposed to pray for our enemies, that he gets the help that he needs, but I pray that somebody does not end their life because of this, because of the unfulfilled promises, because of the lies, because of everything that is presented. I don't want pity. I don't want sympathy. I want to know that he can never do this to anybody else again, because it's I can't even explain how bad it is. But from this, and Mark, in listening to Steve talk, I think that perhaps maybe our logo should be a phoenix, because a phoenix always rises from
the ashes.
Tragedy.
That's right.
With that being said, that's all I'm asking for. I don't want anyone to feel bad for me. I'm so grateful that I have Mark in my life, because I don't know where I would be. I'm so grateful that I have a great husband and a very, very supportive family. This just can't happen to everybody, to anybody. And Steve, you said it best. What he's doing he's not breaking any laws.
Right.
It's not like a scheme, and we can't just put people in jail because they're shitbags, because we'd have so many people in jail. It's just trying very hard. I don't want to ruin Josh. I want Josh to get the help that Josh needs, and I want people to be very, very, very aware. The woman who Denise Garvey, who's out of Connecticut, she was accused by her husband in court of faking her cancer. So you know what she did during the first filming of Honest Justice that was done about her? She removed her wig while she was getting chemotherapy. And she will always have the utmost respect from me. If I had a magical account, I would get her an attorney tomorrow. It's the people like that I feel more like this is a public service announcement, for lack of better words. Just be aware. And
Yeah. Yeah. No, you are absolutely correct. We're seeing too many suicides. I'm not sure what the actual statistics are because they were questioned. When I did research, I came across a certain figure. Well, it turns out my last guest, again, Michael Vogel, very good investigative journalist, came up with different figures. But, there is no denying that people are killing themselves in this situation. When they use the silver bullet technique, you're just so desperate. And when these people end up in jail without their children, without any money, without work, that's it. And for Josh to, if he's doing this, it's just it's horrendous. And I'm really glad you're bringing awareness to people who may otherwise suffer. Now, let me ask you. So and again, I hate to keep going back. Is there going to be a battle, do you suppose, for the name Honest Justice? It is clearly listed to you. Do you plan on fighting for the name, or?
You would have to have money to retain an attorney.
Well, that would be proof positive that nobody's backing him.
And then once he does that, then he's on the hook. Here's the beauty of Florida. People don't realize that in Florida, under Florida law, verbal contracts are binding.
Oh, they are? Okay.
Yeah. And so he would have to. So Dana has all sorts of Facebook messages and stuff that he sent to her, and so now it's going to be, okay, you have the money for an attorney. Well, guess what? Now you owe Dana for business that she's conducting for you under an agreement. So what are you going, where does, we just file a countersuit, and he could just let it go. Just let it go and be done with it. But he owns no corporation, so so the legal battle for him to say, well, it's my corporation, my company. Well, you've had it for over a year. We know of that you claim that this company's yours, and yet you've never filed legally to own this company.
Right.
We're not stealing anything from you. We're not taking any clients. This is our name. It's a not-for-profit. Make yours a for-profit. I don't care what you do. But,
right.
If you want to do that, then knock yourself out. But I stand by first and foremost is I'm not taking anything from the man because he's had it a year and he's never filed a tax return for it. He has no tax ID number. He has no license number. So what do you own, Josh? You own a name? You didn't patent the name.
You can't, right. Right. So that's...
And I think, I know it, not because we have non-disclosures, but there's just certain people that we cannot name yet. But I think Mark would agree with me that through all of this, we have met some fantastic people whose hearts are in the right place.
They're on the same page as us. They're on the same page as us.
Yeah. And I think, the stronger that we get, and if you've taken the time to speak to us, that's one of the reasons why Mark and I have, we clicked from the very beginning. I hope that doesn't happen. I have to laugh because my response is going to be, Mark, you're the president, so good luck with all that. I live in Brevard County, which is the same county where Josh lives, and he lives 2 exits south of me, so I can make it to the hotel in which he resides in about 10 minutes. I will not even go, the exit is Highway 50. I won't go to Highway 50 to Walmart, to Taco Bell, to anything over there if I don't have my husband or my father with me.
So, Dana, do you feel physically...
I'm petrified.
You feel like you may be in danger?
Yes.
You feel physically threatened that he may actually become violent towards you?
Yes. And I think, the redneck girl in me, I think I could kick his ass. But realistically, I don't know. And it's going to take me a long time to get over that. And he's smart. over 15,000 Facebook messages that I don't even have the energy or the desire to go through anymore. But the last time that I physically spoke to him on the phone, he said he was going to blow up my family.
Oh my God.
Mm-hmm.
And
because it's a telephone call, I have to have something in writing. But I'll tell you what, Super Bowl Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
That was it. That was it for me. I blocked him from Facebook. I blocked him from my phone. I don't know what he's capable of. I think he's a very, very, very sick individual. One of the things I have learned in my life is that if your own family's going to say that you're a piece of shit, you're probably a piece of shit. And
yeah.
I kind of leave it at that.
I understand because our researchers did find confirmation that Josh's family is not happy. They don't condone anything that he does. So this is something that we've confirmed, at least peripherally. I can't say that I've spoken to anyone personally, but it certainly seems like, yeah. And sadly, and I hate to interrupt, Dana, you have to excuse me, but I do know the Florida law, and you couldn't even get a restraining order against this guy because even one act of violence against you doesn't constitute the grounds for getting for domestic violence restraining order. So
you're right, but one of the things that that pisses me off about that is that first of all, I have to say this. I don't even know if I necessarily 100% believe in a civil order protection or restraining order because if somebody really wants to hurt you, it's a piece of paper. So at the end of the day, what's a piece of paper going to do for you?
It's just an enhancing charge, that's all it is.
And two, you've got women, and I've seen one, I know for a fact that there's one man that I know went down to the courthouse. I could go down to the courthouse tomorrow and file a civil order protection against my husband. Just totally screw his world up.
And it would be rubber stamped through with no evidence.
Do what?
It would be rubber stamped through with no evidence because it's domestic.
Right. And now I'm telling you that I am fearful. I said it.
Yeah.
I am very fearful of Joshua Cumberland.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have the capability of doing that. Yeah, women can do it all the time because they want to get the house.
Here's the rub. You would be having to file a repeat violence injunction against him because he's a involved party with you. He's just somebody you know. Getting a repeat violence injunction, they don't give the same credence to your allegations that they would in domestic violence. They don't. They demand more proof than repeat violence injunction, restraining orders. And there is. Here's my caveat: there are real people that need domestic violence injunctions. And they sometimes don't get them because the other party has just more juice. After the temporary expires, they go to court and the other person's such a good liar that they can get in there and sway the judge to throw away with it. But on the injunction that keeps a repeat violent offender away from you, they're damn hard to get, and it's just horrible. It just sucks. And this guy is legitimately got issues. 2 other injunctions against him. He talks about, I swear to his statement, the guy talks about shooting people. I shoot somebody in the face. I shoot pigs in the parking lot with the days in. You do. You have 2 injunctions against you now, Josh. You can't even look at a gun. That's one of them, supposedly, But, it's just the system. The system's jacked up. Even for Dana's she can't get help. I think that's an ironic part of it, I guess. Is that, and then, of course, on the flip side is I would love him to show up to your door because that would not go well. It just would not. Knowing Chris, that just would not go well.
No, not at all.
It sounds like
and I don't think.
Of course, he was down the road because he'd have to be in a cab, and then he would go to jail for not being able to pay the cab I mean, everything would work out anyway.
It sounds like he may be looking for easier prey.
Yeah.
Well, going back to one of the things that Mark said when Josh was in the very beginning, this Johansson. Well, allegedly, somebody had put a bug or some sort of listening device in Josh's phone, and we had FDLE, and we had the FBI, and we had TPE and BCSO. Everybody's at his house examining this particular bug, and so I had taken him down to Vieira, and now I'm like semi-paranoid because I'm like, well, they found the bug and they already have a fingerprint on it, so you know who it is. But are they going to sweep your house? How does this work? And he said, "Don't worry, Johansson already swept your cars last night." And I'm like, what?
This guy has more use than the president, man.
He was at my house? What? So we live in the country. And I'm like, what? So, again, I don't believe that now, but, there's some stuff. I'm not saying that it's best to keep secrets from your spouse, but there's a lot of stuff that I did keep to myself. Because then I'm thinking, well, good luck to you. If you're going to send people to start sweeping our vehicles, you're going to get shot where I look. That's just what happens. So,
right.
One, you're in NIMS. Two, your husband's law enforcement. Yeah, that's 2 strikes. 3, yeah.
And again, I have to say, it sounds like, on the bright side, it's, he'll be after easier prey, someone who's desperate, who doesn't know. And if he's running a short con, which his short seems like, he's not going to go over $5,000 at any given time. Nobody's going to file in small claims court against this guy. And it sounds like that's all he's after, really.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, and I think, Steve, you're absolutely correct. A short con guy. He's moved on from Dana. He'll yell and scream and talk to some of the people we know and be pissed off. I'll get Dana, I'll get her, and make his threats. But, at the end of the day, the guy's got nothing. And the sad thing is, he needs to get help. And he'll never get the help because in his own mind, this stuff is true. He believes the lies that he creates. And
Mark, remember we spoke to, I don't even remember who it was we spoke to, but they had said that Josh had told them that he was going to bring up his private helicopter. And I'm like, he doesn't have a driver's license. He doesn't have a helicopter.
Oh, wow.
He's going to be flying some more prospective investors down to Orlando or Titusville, Cocoa Beach, on the 26th or whatever, and they're going to be staying at one of his hotels that he owns, because he owns 6 hotels, Dana?
Yeah.
6 hotels, but he lives in Hotel 666, but he's going to, which I don't. Why are you living there? You own these hotels, Josh, but whatever. Don't confuse insanity with logic. But they're going to fly him down, and they're going to do that deal. He'll fly them all over in his helicopter. It's going to be great. It's going to be grandiose. I wish we could all be there for the party, which we missed out on Dana. We missed out on Christmas Eve party.
Wow.
Yeah, we did.
Josh, funding.
The private, I forgot the name of the Japanese personal friend of his, chef, who was going to cater. We were supposed to get paid. We were supposed to be paid on the 1st and the 15th of every month. I did have to change my banking information. I'm just little stuff you have to go out to protect yourself with. It's sad, and then to me it's also frustrating because, believe it when I tell you, I have so many, I have articles that I have put to the side for Brevard's Best News, and that's something that has suffered. I'm not going to say tremendously because we have a profound amount of readers, and Mark's got a very large following, and we're getting back there, but out. You're so saddened and frustrated. Some days just waking up and getting out of pajamas was like, it's an everything that I had to be able to do it. Because as a mom, what have I done? I've promised my children. I think one of the sickest things that he did is he told me that he had gotten tickets for my boys to go see the WWE tournament. Well, I don't know if it's a tournament, but my boys love wrestling. I should have never told that to my children because it never happened.
Wow.
And you offered your husband a new truck. Or not a new truck, but a truck.
Yep.
Because you guys were looking for another vehicle. Oh, come on down, I'll give it to you.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then it was Johansson. Johansson had it every day. So it was, it just crazy stuff that doesn't even, he said that he had like 20 trucks for his company.
The best is all of the video equipment and the movie studio that's up and running, and he has 2 full-length movies already done. He has nothing of that.
No, there was, and I'm not going to say the gentleman's name, but there's one guy who is also a cancer survivor and went to an airport to retrieve his tickets to come down to visit this predominant huge movie studio that we have down here, and the tickets were not there.
He goes to the airport, there's no tickets.
Wow.
It goes down to, he threw a party and no one showed up. What?
Yeah.
How does it even happen?
Wow.
And the only reason Dana's still going through this, she likes my Mr. Herbert impression. I try to make her laugh at least 2 to 3 times a week to keep her sane. Dana, I'll say this to you, just take this negative and teach your kids right. I mean, you do. You're instilling the right thing in your kids. And we're gonna make this a positive. We're gonna be able to help people, and your kids are gonna be like, dude, your kids love you, man. I hear them in the background, when we talk. They don't look at you as anything other than a mom. They don't give 2 craps about any of that stuff.
Hey,
As a matter of fact, your kids would go down and take care of him if they had their way. Especially little Bear Down.
What a story you're going to have, once this takes off, how it started, it's going to be amazing. And Marc, you're such a great writer. I'm tempted to ask you if you have a manuscript or the idea of writing this out, because it really does sound kind of fascinating.
It's funny, man. This could be a HBO series, the stuff that went on. It is amazing. And I guess, reality is better than fiction sometimes.
Yeah.
I'm actually writing a book right now. I've been working on it. Dana's read part of it. It's called Dark Side of the Blue Line. And I'm dealing with all of the things that occur in law enforcement and the court system. And over my experiences in Central Florida as a law enforcement officer, and I've exposed some of the things that go on with law enforcement and what administrations do. People that lose touch with what law enforcement is about. Cops that lose a touch with it as they get promoted through the ranks and start playing politics to further themselves instead of the community. It's a shame. It's a shame.
Wow, that sounds fascinating. That sounds like a great angle, from the inside, because really, so many cops are. It seems like all cops are getting a bad rap, and for someone from the inside to kind of say yay or nay, the good and the bad, it sounds to me like you've got a real good concept.
Yeah, I'm hoping. Dana, I don't like to critique my own stuff. That's why I sent it to Dana some time ago, and I've done more on it. But Dana seems to like it. I just want to put out there the honest view of somebody from the inside. I've worked with some great people, and it seems that most of the great people get fed up and they're like, I'm out. And but I've worked with some less than desirable people, and I tell people every career field has that guy. Everybody runs into them, and it's in law enforcement. It's no different than any other job. it's just a different job that we do. Fire services. I was part-time with the fire department. Great people. And I've worked with some other people that, I wouldn't let them put a Band-Aid on me.
Yeah. Well, getting back to the story, though, it sounds like you're doing the right thing. We're coming up at the very end of our time. I'm just not sure how to leave this, but I do hope that we get the opportunity to follow up when more things develop out of this. I'm certain this isn't the end of the story, especially given that, it sounds like Josh has found a friend in the media as a sounding board from what you're saying of that last show, and I'm dying to see what's going to come out of that.
I would love to be at the airport to film them landing and and be able to videotape their wonderful trip that they're going to have down here. And the other thing that I'm hoping, what I'm really hoping for, is that the closure of the story is you can't go through life. If Josh is listening to this, deciding at such a young age to serve your country is admirable in itself. You don't have to enhance and add any more elaborate detail. For the true people that have served our country and have gone to war and are hurt because of that. I'll continue to pray for them as well, and I just hope that through all of the channels and all the revenues is that if there's a situation that he can get help, I hope that happens. But at the end of the day, you have to be held accountable for people are not toys, and you just can't emotionally rape them and then put them down and then get mad when they call you out on it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Steve, there's no I don't have any malice. The guy, the only thing he took from me was time. I'm more angry at him for what he did to Dana by giving her the false hopes and all that. I believe, if it's too good to be true, it is. Show me, don't tell me. But I am very upset with what he did to Dana and allowed her to spend money and do all these things. But as far as malice and ill will, Dana, just get yourself some help. I mean, if this was your concept and your idea and something you thought would be a great deal, it's a good thing, Josh, but you didn't have it. You didn't do anything with it, and you didn't own it. There was a lot of other people that contributed to this stuff. A lot of other people that we're not even mentioning because out of respect for them, and they asked us not to. And it's just more to come. This is the beginning. This is a birth, not a, like you said, and the rest of the story will continue.
Yeah. It sounds like this is just the beginning, actually, the end of your ordeal, but the beginning of something new. And hopefully, given the fact that there are, again, so many suicides out there, that you may actually be preventing something tragic from happening. So if at the very least that is accomplished, I think it's time well spent. And I got to say, it's, again, kudos. It's a laudable thing that you're doing. And we are out of time. Before I let you go, think about what you want to promote. I want to again say I'm Steve Sumner. This is Brothers United Against Child Abuse and the Stolen Club. You can find this and all of our broadcasts on YouTube or online at stolen.club. Of course, thanks to John Anderson, our CEO, Becky Kemble, and all of the members, tens of thousands, in Beating the Drums for Children groups. There is a special GoFund right now. If you can contribute, please do. If not, then spread the word. It's GoFundMe/Save This Child. GoFundMe/Save This Child. And tonight's guests have been Marc Kovacs, an excellent writer. You can find his work on Dana Lloyd's, our other guest, Dana Lloyd's newspaper online, brevardsbestnews.com. And this is an excellent story. Marc has put it, it's crystal clear what happened here. Hopefully there'll be a follow-up. And any last words you want to leave us with?
I would say just, everybody just keep supporting each other. It's huge. And together we can all right the system. Keep looking for the realhonestjustice.com website. That'll be up this week. And, help us help other people. That's what we're all about. So if you need a background, check me out at thebackgroundcheckguy.com. Thebackgroundcheckguy.com. I do nationwide service, and I am FCRA compliant, and I'll help you out with anything that you need with that stuff too.
And I would just like to say, God bless all your listeners, and thanks for having us on your show. Marc and I both can, be reached through brevardsbestnews.com, and there will be an article to follow up once we have everything ready to launch, and be good to each other.
Great. Well, I hope we'll definitely see you again for an update. It sounds like there's going to be more, so hopefully we'll have some good news coming up.
Anything we can do for you, Steve, please don't hesitate to reach out. We're dedicated to this stuff, and anything I can ever help you out with, please holler.
Great. We'll be in touch. Terrific. Thank you so much again, Steve Sumner, for Brothers United Against Child Abuse and Stolen Club. And a very special thanks to our guest, Marc Kovacs and Dana Lloyd. Thank you very much for listening this evening. We'll see you next time.